right, well, hey, Chase here. Just wanted to give a quick kind of brief overview on monitors and mixing monitors. So this is going to be pretty specific to North with the app that we use and kind of the layout of the app, but I'll also dive into some of the principles on what I like to do in order to get a really good ear mix for weekend gatherings. So as most of you know, when you first arrive at North, there is a toolbox with everything that you'll need laid out on top of that right outside of the green room door. So you'll find your belt pack there, and if you're a vocalist, you'll find your microphone there. If you are playing acoustic guitar and you've got the wireless pack, and then your wireless pack will be there labeled with your name. Each belt pack is labeled either IEM 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And then vocals, I believe, are labeled 1 through 3 or 1 through 4. I'm not too sure. So you would grab your belt pack, you'd grab whatever else you need, whether it's your wireless pack for acoustic guitar or your microphone. One thing that I like to do is with this belt pack, I like to run it at about 75%. So this is a master volume right here. And so that's all the way up. I go all the way up and then I back it off, maybe 25%. You can stick this in your back pocket, on your belt, plug your headphones in there, and then that is how you will hear the band and yourself on stage. So belt pack, about 75%. Our microphone's pretty easy. Vocals 1, 2, and 3 turn on with that switch right there. Takes a second for it to come on. And then vocal 4, I believe, there's a button down here that will turn you on. Now, Monitor Mix. That's the app that we use for mixing our ears here at North. Looks like this. It says Yamaha 2 M's. If you haven't downloaded that yet, highly recommend you download that app. You type in Yamaha Monitor Mix, or maybe just Monitor Mix in your app store. It'll pull up. It's a free app. You will need that. Now, once you have downloaded that app, in order to control your ears, you need to be on the WellTech Wi-Fi. And so in your settings, you will see WellTech. You click on WellTech. Type in the password. The password is all lowercase, C. Oh, what's going on there? C0 MMUN1 TY. Again, that's community C0 MMUN1 TY. Join. That password is the same, and that method is the same over at Fig as well. So once you're on the WellTech Wi-Fi, you will want to open your Monitor Mix app. When you open the Monitor Mix app, you are given a couple selections: FOH board, monitor board. We're going to want to be on monitor board, so make sure that's selected and hit connect. That's going to connect you to the console now. Now, remember, each one of these belt packs has a label on it. So for example, this one is IEM1. You're going to find IEM1, or maybe your 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so on. You're going to find what label you have, and you're going to click it. Not on this side, not Mix 1, but IEM1. So you'll click that, hit done, and that'll connect you. Now, if you're a keyboard player or if you're a drummer, I believe there's still labeled keys and drums. I could be wrong, but either way, you just want to match that number to whatever selection you make here on the app. Now, when the app is open, this is everything you will need to control your ears. So this will only affect you. It won't affect anyone else, won't affect front of house, only specific to you. This over here is a master volume. It's good for that to be at about 0. Now again, you have a master volume here and a master volume here. If that's at 0, you shouldn't need to adjust that. Just keep this one, like I said, at about 75%, and you're good to go. Now, I'm going to go into a little bit of detail with what all of these mean, all these labels down here at the bottom, so bear with me. This first chunk of faders from channel 1 to channel 8 are all your drums. Kick drum is the bass drum. There's another kick drum. That's the inside of the kick drum. That's going to give you more of a slappy sound. Kick out is going to give you more of a boomy sound. So you can kind of adjust those to how you like it. That's a snare drum, the top. That's going to give more of the hit, the attack on the snare drum. That's snare drum on the bottom. That's going to give you more of a sizzly sound because the springs for the snare drum are underneath there. Tom 1 is the rack tom. Tom 2 is the floor tom. Overhead left and overhead right, those are going to be the overhead microphones that are on the drum set that are going to pick up mostly the cymbals. Over here from channel 9 all the way through channel 15 are going to be all the tracks. So these are all the piano and key tracks. These are all the synth tracks, all the guitar tracks, all the bass tracks, percussion tracks, and any sort of vocal effects that may be on the track. Auxiliary is sometimes, I don't know, sometimes there's like a riser or an 808 or something. That's where that's going to be found. So if you find yourself hearing someone playing your part and you're not playing your part, chances are you've got that tracks channel turned up. So if you don't want to hear any of that stuff, go ahead and turn that down. I'm a fan of kind of hearing things doubled personally, so I like to mix a little bit of that into my ears. Channel 16, this is very, very important. That's going to be our click track and our guide track. So that's all the guides, intro, 2, 3, 4, verse 1, stuff like that. That is going to be found in click. That'll also be the click, the metronome that's playing while we play. 17 and 18 are going to be the keys channel. So that's a stereo channel. So you've got a left and a right. It's good. I think those are linked together. So if you move one, it'll move them together. That's going to be the Nord keyboard, anyone playing piano here on the stage. Synth is synth. So if we have a synth player, then that will be found there. Bass is bass guitar, obviously. Acoustic 1 and acoustic 2, there's 2 slots for acoustic. Usually whoever's leading worship, if they're playing acoustic, they're going to be in acoustic 1. Also acoustic 2 is there. We've got 3 electric guitar channels. Sometimes myself or some of our other guitar players prefer to play in stereo. So we may have 2 electric guitar channels. Sometimes we may run a Helix in stereo. That may be 2 electric guitar channels, maybe 1 and 2 or 2 and 3. Or if we're lucky and we have 3 electric guitar players on the stage, then you will have 3 individual faders. As we move on, these over here, room and crowd. The room mics are mics that are kind of up by the projector screens. It just gives an opportunity for us to hear the room. With our in-ears in, it's really easy to hear kind of this muffled, isolated sound and feel like you're all alone and you can't hear anything that's going on in the room. Room is a great tool to use to just open up your mix a little bit. And then crowd are a couple microphones that are set back at front of house, pointed towards the speakers. And that's just, again, another dimension of the room that you can pick up. I like to kind of play with those. And, sometimes, honestly, for me, sometimes I'll run them. Those are linked for some reason. I'll run them about like that. Now, over here, you've got your vocal channels. So Vox 1 is going to be Vox 1. Vox 2, that'll say Vox 2 there, Vox 3, and so on. If you're leading with me, I've got a channel here. If you're leading with Ethan, Ethan's got a channel there. Over here, these are belt packs. So what that is that's going to be Brad's mic, Mike Sladen's mic, whoever's teaching, that's going to be their mic. So it's important, I think, to have those in your ears, especially if we're coming out of a prayer at the end of a message. It's good to know when he says amen. These handheld mics are typically handheld 1, handheld 2. Those are typically used for a CP on stage. Maybe there's an interview happening, but they're the other handheld mics that we have that are dedicated just for kind of talking head moments, if you will. CG is if there's a video playing off of our ProPresenter computer, you'll be able to hear it there. Spotify is off the Spotify computer. Just a little note, I like to keep that down. Sometimes our team can forget to mute the Spotify channel in front of house. They may just turn it down. Well, if that happens, we're still getting the signal, and it's really hard to play a song while another song is playing in your ears. Front of house talkback is going to be whoever's at the front of house console. So whoever's in the sound booth, you're going to be able to hear them through front of house talkback. Control room talkback is pretty specific to North AM. That's going to be whoever is at our broadcast station in the control room. You'll be able to hear them coming down that channel. Now, if we continue to slide over, we see a couple things here. We see warm, we see bright. Those two are going to be reverbs for the vocal mics only. So warm reverb is going to be a little bit of a warmer reverb. There's a little bit of a longer tail on it. Bright reverb is going to be a brighter reverb with a little bit of a shorter tail. If you are like me, or I think Ethan was using this one last, a nice big full reverb on a vocal is really, really nice. So you can kind of play with these levels and see what works best for you. Again, these are only gonna affect vocals 1 through 3. They will not affect Chase's mic or Ethan's mic. Those are great to use. This is pretty heavy on the reverb. If you're just starting out, getting used to it, I'd kind of recommend something like that. I do favor the warm reverb over the bright reverb. Over here, you've got instrument left and instrument right. Those are the reverb for the band. So again, it just adds a little ambiance to what we're playing. It adds, that reverb, a little bit of that swimminess to the sound. Very, very pleasant when you have in-ears in. Now this one over here is the drum reverb. So same thing. You could turn reverb up just on the drums, turn reverb down just on the drums. Something to note with drum reverb, drums are really loud. So chances are if you have those room mics on, or even if you have reverb coming through your vocals, where are we at? Reverb coming through your vocals, the drums are probably going to get picked up in those channels. So as you saw when I first scanned over here, those were down, probably because there was a little bit of bleed coming into the other microphones that was adding enough ambiance to the drums. But if you want to feel like you're playing in Save Mart Center, go ahead and crank that thing up, and that'll give you a nice reverb on the drum kit. All right, almost done here with describing these faders. WL warm, WL bright. Those are the same warm and bright reverbs that we have on vocals, but they're going to be specific to the worship leader. So these are going to control the warm reverb and the bright reverb for the Chase channel or the Ethan channel on vocals. All right, we got through that. Another thing that you can do with this app, which is super crucial in getting a good mix, is right now we are in fader mode. So fader, again, is going to be the volume of things. But if we go over here and we click pan, that is going to allow us to pan, so move the sound to one side of our head to the other, either the right side or the left side. So What's crucial there, why that can be so important is if we have the same amount of sound coming through both drivers or both of your headphones, it's just gonna get muddy, and there's those drivers are just working really, really hard to pump all that sound, all these faders, the whole band, all that stuff into one side of your ear. But if we maybe pull out guitars from one side of our ear and put it in the other, then that driver is freed up a little bit more to handle something else. And so what I like to do is I like to pan things according to where I stand on stage. So I typically hang out kind of on the right side of the stage. So my mix is gonna be a little bit left side heavy because most everybody is gonna be on the left side. But I'll walk through kind of some of that stuff for you. So the drums, again, I like drums to just be a stereo instrument. They are something that, can take up a lot of space sonically in your ears. So I like to run a little bit of kick drum on the left side. And how you do that is when you're in the pan, you just drag these faders down left or right. Snare drum, I like that a little bit on my right side, so it's a little bit of boom, cat, boom, cat, boom. It's weird, but it's what I like. Toms, when you're sitting at the drum set, your rack tom 1 is usually here, and tom 2 is over here on your right side. So as you can see, tom 1 is on the right, is on the left side, and tom 2 is up there on the right side. So again, that just gives you a little bit of some spread. Overhead left and overhead right. I know this is backwards where that's panned right and it says left. Those are labeled according to how front of house sees the drum kit. I like to have them working based off of if I was sitting at the drum kit. So feel free to do whatever you want there. We'll move over here to some instruments. So keys left, keys right, that's faded, or that's pan to the left and pan to the right. Now, I told you that I like to have the band kind of oriented in my ears how they are on stage. Typically, that bass player is kind of behind me to my left, but not far to my left like a keyboard is. So as you can see, I just panned the bass over to the left a little bit. Acoustic 1, I think I was playing acoustic last time here. I have it a little over on the right side just to give me a little bit more definition on the right side. Electric 3, it looks like I had that guy again on the left side because he was on the left side of the stage. Room left and right, again panned accordingly. Crowd the same way. Vocal 1, it looks like whoever was singing on vocal 1 for me last time I used this was pretty far over on my left side. So as you can see, I panned that thing over pretty far left. Vocal 2 was a little bit closer to me, so it's a little bit closer to center. I like to keep my vocal centered, just as if I was hearing my voice exactly how I'm hearing my voice now. And that's about it when it comes to panning. Panning can be your best friend, so don't be afraid to move things around. Don't be afraid to hit that pan button and kind of open up your hearing a little bit. We hear things naturally in stereo, so if we can move things around, I think it's really, really good and gives us a really, really pleasant mix. Another thing that I would recommend is if you can't hear something, usually it's our gut to just start turning it up. I would recommend if you can't hear something, maybe you can't hear your voice very well or you can't hear your guitar very well, I'm going to recommend you pull everything down first. Don't go to this fader yet. Don't turn this bad boy up yet. Keep yourself at unity at 0 there. Keep yourself at about 75, 80% here, but turn other things down before you start to turn yourself up. Now, we do have the ability to send more of a signal down. So, for example, vocal one, if you're not able, if you've exhausted all options, if you've turned everything else down and you've cranked your vocal up and you're still not hearing that cut through the mix, then you can absolutely ask either your worship leader or whoever's at front of house to send a little bit more of your channel down through the ears, and that's totally fine. But I would start quiet and work your way up. I'm a huge fan of starting from scratch every single time I mix my ears. It just helps me get a good, clean mix, and I'm not, fighting with someone else's mix or trying to adjust my mix based off of maybe someone using how they used the app last time. With that, I think that pretty much covers the basics of how to utilize this. One last thing before we sign off here. I prefer to run my ears at a volume that I naturally hear things. So I'm not, with this at 80% or 90% or 75%, whatever you choose, kind of in that window, and this at unity, my vocal, for example, I'm hearing it in my ears just as loud as I'm hearing my voice now acoustically, naturally. I'm not cranking it up so high that if I whisper, it hurts my ears. And I'm not having it so low that if I have to yell or if I'm singing real strong, it's really not cutting through. So try to mix your ears based off of, with this at 0 and this at 75 to 80%, try to mix these faders to be how you naturally hear sound, how you naturally hear audio, maybe even how you naturally listen to music. That's really gonna keep you from having ear fatigue. That's gonna keep you from, if you're a vocalist, over singing and blowing out your voice. And it's also gonna keep you from having, ringing in your ears or even long-term hearing loss. The last thing, which I believe is one of the most important things you can do, always keep both of your ears, your monitors, in your ears. Please, I know that we've seen it on rock shows and we've seen it in movies probably, right? Someone takes their ear out because maybe they can't hear or something. That is so damaging to your ears, and I would hate for you guys to have hearing damage based off of you serving here at the church. If there's a problem and you need to pull an ear out, let's address the problem here in your mix or maybe at the monitor board if needed. But please, please, please leave your ears in. You're going to hear the best if you do that. You're going to not cause hearing damage if you do that. And actually for vocalists, that's one of the worst things you can do, because if you're like, oh, I can't hear myself, I had to pull my ear out so I can hear more. Well, actually, by the time your voice travels into the microphone, through the PA, out the speakers, hits the back wall, and bounces back to you, it is actually lower in pitch than what you are singing. So you may hear yourself, if you do that, you're like, oh, I can't hear myself. You're actually hearing yourself back flat. You're not hearing yourself back true to pitch, as if you were just to sing directly in the microphone and have both of your ears in. So, hey, appreciate you guys sticking around for this video. If you have any questions regarding mixing your ears, feel free to ask any of your worship leaders or someone on the tech team. They would be more than happy to help you. We do have this iPad that lives here at North that you could use to mix your ears. So just ask your worship leader for that. We'd be happy to grab it for you. But yeah, thanks for sticking around. Appreciate you guys, caring about your mix and doing the best you can to get a great mix in order for us to execute well. We'll see you guys soon.